Hello, ladies and germs. Welcome back to MVP Baseball 2005. We are here in the Washington Nationals Dynasty, and we've already went through the first about a week or so of games. We finished off that Giant series with an L, unfortunately, so that brings us to 12 and 13 on the month, as I mentioned later on in this video. But we do manage to win the series against the Rockies. We do take 2 of 3 games against the Rockies. Offense absolutely rolling in that series, by the way. And so that's going to take us into our first game of this series against the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee. So I love this park, man, Miller Park. I absolutely love it. I think they changed the name of it, didn't they? I think it's, American Family Park or something like that, or Guaranteed. I can't remember. Guaranteed Rate is Chicago, but I think they changed the name of it. I don't think it's Miller Park anymore, but I'm going to call it that because I love it. I love this ballpark. It's one of my favorite domes in the majors, and so we're going to get into things here early on in this game here. Endy Chavez, our leadoff man, in the top of the first in a 1-2 count. This pitch right down Broadway, and Endy Chavez is going to pop this one the other way. A beautiful diving catch is mishandled. He manages to stop the momentum of the ball, but it does land on the ground, so that's going to be a 2-bagger for Endy Chavez. A nice attempt by the left fielder of Milwaukee, but he's unable to cleanly field it, so that's going to give up a extra base hit for the Nationals. So now Matt Holliday is going to step up to the plate here. He is hot just about everywhere in an 0-1 count. He's going to laser this one up the middle, and Endy Chavez is going to round third and head all the way home. And so Matt Holliday is safe at first. So Matt Holliday gives himself an RBI in this game, and Jose Vidro up to bat. And Matt Holliday's going to run, and it is a very errant throw by the catcher. That was not even close. And Matt Holliday's going to get himself a stolen base. So I don't know Matt Holliday for his speed. Maybe you guys know better than me that he's a stolen base threat. But he does manage to swipe that bag. So Jose Vidro is unable to get on base, and that's going to bring up Ivan Vilcarina, our first baseman, our rookie first baseman, in a 3-1 count with 1 away, and that fastball is going to miss high and inside, so that's going to walk Carina. A very rare walk. We've seen him swing at just about everything, but he manages to take that walk. And now Wes King, another prospect, another rookie here, in an 0-2 count with men on first and second, and he lines this one up the middle, and the pitcher gets his glove on it and can't quite field it cleanly either, but he does manage to recollect it and get it to first base before Wes King can safely get to first. So both runners are going to advance, however. And so that's going to put another one away with Jose Guillen up to the plate, who's having a pretty great season so far. He's been turning things on, and he's going to line this one up the middle. And again, the pitcher just about gets a glove on it, but he can't quite. And that's going to bring home 1 run. And so now they're going to be runners at the corners in the first inning, man. Things are getting out of hand already. For the Nationals, or for the Brewers, rather. But that is going to do it, just those 2 runs. We wouldn't get any more runs scored in that inning. So fast forward a little bit further on into the game. Matt Holliday up to bat yet again in the top of the third in a 1-1 count. And he is going to get a hold of this one inside and absolutely turn on it and send it out to left field, and 371 feet later, and it is gone. It is out of here. Just absolutely turned on, man. That was an inside pitch. Look at that. Boom. Perfect swing, man. I love his bat path. Just crazy. And that one is just crushed out to left, man. I think, did that hit that little second deck right there? Does that technically count as the second deck? But that's all that's going to happen in the third as we extend our lead to 3-0 over Milwaukee, who CC Sabathia, mind you, is holding to 1 hit. So Vinny Castillo is going to lead things off for us here in the top of the fourth, and he is going to line this one down the line in left field. And I don't know if he's necessarily got the wheels to get to 2, and he does not. So that's going to be a nice base hit, a well-hit single, if you will, hit to a good part of the field, but it's only just going to be a base hit. So Brian Schneider, the catcher, now in a 3-1 count, and this changeup is going to miss inside. It looked pretty good. I probably would have swung at it if it was me playing. I definitely would have swung at it, but Brian Schneider's going to get walked, and that's going to bring up CC Sabathia, who already struck out earlier in this game. So and he's going to go for the bunt, lays down a perfect bunt. Look at that perfect bunt, man. And the throw to first, it's on time. It's a decent throw, but the first baseman can't seem to field it as that one bounces right off of his glove. So CC Sabathia, the big man himself, is going to somehow be safe in all this mess. And so we're going to have bases loaded now here in the 4th inning. So Milwaukee finds himself in a bit more trouble again. And that's going to bring up Endy Chavez, the leadoff man, who already has a double in this game. And he's going to rock this one to the first baseman. and he's going to get the relay off to second to get the clean out, and the relay back to first. And again, he can't field it. I don't know what's wrong with their first baseman, man. He's struggling. So Santos, the pitcher, doesn't have much of a reaction after getting talked to. He just said, hey, man, it is what it is. And Matt Holliday, who's having an amazing game so far, he is not a guy you want to pitch to at all. But it looks like Santos is going to attempt it, and Holliday makes him pay for it as he lines another one up the middle, brings home another run. And there's going to be runners at first and second. So Milwaukee might need to rethink their strategy on the mound if they want to keep themselves in this ball game, as things are starting to get a little bit out of hand for the Brew Crew. And Schneider's going to run all the way home. You'd think he'd be a little bit slower, but he does safely get home, fortunately. So we are managing to roll here on offense. But that's going to be it, and we are now going to fast forward later on into the game here with bases loaded for CC Sabathia. He's in a bit of a bind in the fourth. That two-seamer misses inside for ball one. Only one man down, so CC Sabathia in quite a bind. He's got to get out of this one, and it is grounded to third, and Castilla gets it to Vidro, who makes the out and somehow gets this one to Carina, man. Look at that. That was a dirty slide. Look at this. Woof. I don't know how he got that one off or didn't get injured, and I don't know how that second out to Carina counted, but it did. So we get out of the bind here in the fourth, but now we are fast forwarding a little bit further into the game, and again, bases loaded with CC Sabathia in the bottom of the sixth, and he misses with that two-seamer down low and away. He's only topping out at about 86 or 87, which is not great, man. And that one gets turned on. It's lifted all the way out to left field, and that's going to land just short of the wall, but that's going to clear a couple of the bags as the Brewers bring home a couple runs. And so CC Sabathia's terrible inning seems to get just a little bit more worse. And if I was managing this game, like from the management screen, that probably would have been it. I probably would have pulled CC Sabathia after this, or maybe given him one more batter to see if he loaded one on the base pass. But we'll see what our little in-game manager decides to do, which is essentially nothing. So they're going to leave CC Sabathia out there, see if he can get out of this inning, because I guess they don't want to go to the pen before the seventh inning. So, but with runners in scoring position, this one is absolutely lifted out to right center field. And that one's going to clear the wall just barely by a couple feet, maybe a handful of feet. And that one is in the bullpens, and that's going to be a home run for the Brewers, a 3-run shot. Send off the fireworks here, and look at this, man. I like how the Brewers got a little home run celebration. You see this? Look at this. They got the home run slide and everything. Wow, what a nice touch. what a great touch, man. Maybe doing the Brewers in this game would be fun in the future, man. I love everything about the Brewers around this time, man. They're just such a cool team. But that is going to bust this game kind of completely wide open as the Brewers managed to tie us in the sixth inning, thanks to CC Sabathia's complete meltdown. And now John Rauch is going to start warming up in the pen here, as we're going to need to consider our options. And so manager's going to go out and talk to CC Sabathia, and typical, he just says, it is what it is. You know, who cares? Oh, well. I know I'm struggling. Who cares? Because I guess this is just par for the course for him at this point. So with the runner still in first here, that four-seamer misses inside. Now he's up to 90, so maybe he's playing with a little bit of renowned vigor. I don't know. He's going to try and go for the pickoff, and that's not going to work. So can't get out of this one, Sabathia. And someone's going to run on Schneider, and Schneider's not going to be able to get the tag in time, and it's a swiped bag for the Brewers. So now they have a runner at second. And this inning continues for CC Sabathia as he's struggling to get out of it. And that one is grounded over Carina's head. It just barely touches some clean grass in right center, or shallow right field. And the relay to home is nowhere near. And so now we're going to go to the pen, as the manager has seen enough. He said, dude, I came out here, I tried talking to you, and I got nothing from you. So CC Sabathia's day is done, and John Rauch is going to come in to try and get us out of this inning as best as he can. But there is still some trouble on the base paths, as Eric Valent is now up to bat with a man on first in an 0-1 count, and he's going to crush this one out to right center field here in the gap. That one's going to go to the wall. And the leadoff man, I guess, is going to go all the way around the base paths. It's going to take forever to get that one back into the infield, and that's going to be another run for the Brewers. And now Ricky Weeks, the second baseman, is up to bat with a man on first, and he's in an 0-2 count here against Rauch, and he's going to absolutely clobber this one all the way out to center field, and that one is going to hit off the batter's eye, and that one is going to be another home run here later on in this game here. I'm not sure if Rauch was still in the game, but this is in, I believe, the 7th or 8th inning. But the Brewers add 2 more runs to their 2-run lead. So in a game that saw us up 5-0 at one point, we now find ourselves down 9-5. So thanks to CC Sabathia's horrendous game here, you still would expect the offense maybe to wake up a little bit, but they did kind of grind out some runs at the beginning portion of this game, and so we can't. I don't want to blame them because I believe it's starting pitching. So, but with runners on first and second, Brian Schneider, the big man up here, potentially to save us here. That first pitch misses low and away. 0-1 is the count, and Schneider's going to swing through a 2-seamer that's right down Broadway. And so now in an even count, 1-1, the pitch is down, and Schneider gets a piece of it and sends it off to short, and the tag is made at second base in time. It's a close call, but the tag is very much there, and that is going to end our game here in Milwaukee. So a huge blunder here on, I guess, the defensive side of the ball, as pitching completely lets us down in Milwaukee after a strong start. That's going to end it for us. So we're going to get now into the rest of our month of May. So all right, coming back in now to the GM office, I guess you could consider this, our little hub here, our Dynasty hub. After that game against the Brewers, as you can see, we have finished the month of May 500 yet again. Well, technically not again, because this last game with the Giants was still a part of April, which we lost, so we were actually 12-13 in the month of April, and in the month of May we have finished 500, so that is good for a 25-26 record on the season, if my math is correct, which is a huge improvement from last season, from the little research I did before hitting record. I believe we were 17-34 through the first 2 months of last year after our horrendous April, I think, when we only won like 6 games. I think we went like 6-18 or something like that, and then we were like 9-15, I think, in May. Give or take a game, obviously, because 17-34. Do that math, however that progresses out. Either way, here is how the month looks. You can take a look at the schedule before I go through it series by series. But like I did last video, which I think I'm going to try and do moving forward with each monthly recap, is kind of talk about the main points, pros, and cons for the team and how it performed through the month. So, in April, if you remember, a lot of our issues were RISP. We really struggled with runners in scoring position. CC Sabathia was a huge talking point about how terrible he was. And other than that, those were really the kind of big things. And then I was kind of trying to describe or outlay kind of the balance between how the team plays, where it's like, everything had to go right at the exact same time for us to get a win. And if one of those things didn't work, then it was never really on the same page. So you might have great pitching and maybe solid defense, but the offense just was not there, or the offense was really rolling and maybe 1 or 2 pitchers were solid, but I got 2 or 3 innings out of the starter. You know what I mean? Something like that. So in this month, it was a little bit different. So the main theme for this month is the offense is here. The offense was absolutely rolling through the month of May, which may not look like it from some of these low-scoring games here, but it was kind of night and day, kind of like April was. There were some games where it was there and where it wasn't, but the offense was at least a little bit more consistent, and some of the players that we really needed to be consistent were. So that's kind of what I mean by the offense is back. There are some key players on the offensive side of the ball that were actually doing really well this month, and it was really helping us out, and we were able to kind of rely on them consistently, and it didn't feel like a day-to-day thing like it did in the month of April. On the pitching side of things, there's a big change I made after this game against Milwaukee that we will talk about. But otherwise, the starting rotation is kind of really the big problem now. So our starters are really kind of bad, and then in our bullpen, there's about 1 or 2 arms that are really, really bad, and everyone else is relatively consistent. I can kind of depend on the remaining 3 or 4 guys in the pen, outside of the 2 or 3 that are really, really bad. So that's kind of where the team lies. We're getting some production from offense that we weren't getting before, and pitching is getting a little bit more predictable about what we can and cannot expect from them. So, and this game against Milwaukee is the perfect epitome of that, because, the offense came and rolled, put up 5 runs early, and then because of our starting problems, we completely blew that game, and just couldn't really recover. So that is kind of how things matched up. So going through the month of May, as we already kind of talked in the beginning of the video, this Rocky series that we did win, but we would go on to lose the Brewers series after losing Game 2 and then picking up a close win in Game 3. So we had 4 straight off days on Monday. Schedule kind of worked out like that. Interesting. We did manage to win the series against Philly, which was a crazy series, man. This 16-7 game wasn't even that close. I want to say that score got to like 16-3 or 4 at some point. Like it was pretty bad. We scored a lot of garbage time runs, if that even is a thing in baseball. But then we had a really close grinded out win in Game 2, and then also won in Game 3. This was a high scoring affair. I think this one was a lot worse for Philly, and then they ended up kind of catching up because of our bullpen situation. But they could not close the gap. Then we got swept by the Cubs. A really tough series against the Cubs here. 2 very close games that we probably could have or at least should have won in Game 1 and 2. And then Game 3, our offense did not show up. So, yeah, got swept by the Cubs. Not great. And then we would pick up a series victory over the Diamondbacks heading back home. This is a really solid series. I liked what we did. Game 3 just kind of got out of hand. I noticed that the game really just refuses to let me sweep anybody. Like, if I win a series, it's just going to cut me off right there. But then in the second series at home against the Astros, kind of a huge offensive output from both ends here. But in Game 2, we really didn't show up, and pitching did not show up either. So just a lost game there. But this was a tough one, Game 3. I remember that, man. I think this was 6-6 heading into like the 8th or 9th. And then we just kind of, I think because of the high leverage relievers I used to close the gap and catch us up in the game, I wasn't able to use them in extra innings, which obviously lost us the game. So we would win the series against the Giants, a very low-scoring series against the Giants, except for Game 3, of course. So this is the rare moment where both pitching really kind of leads the way here, and just some timely hitting, which we don't normally have because of our wrist problem, which, yes, has still persisted through May. I can't tell you how many times we had bases loaded, and whoever was up to bat did not bring anyone home. Not just, 1 or 2. Nobody came home. So it has been a persistent issue. Then we another low-scoring affair in this Padres series, man, a really low-scoring affair. So, grinding out wins is fine when we're a team that has the problems that we do, because we are not a good team on paper. And so if we can at least play like a mid-team, an uninteresting mid-team, and stay around 500, that'd be fine. And then to start off this Red Series, the first 2 games of this Red Series, we were really dominant in the first game, and then we had an opportunity to win in the second game, and I think the bullpen kind of lost that one for us. Kind of tough here, but we only scored 2 runs, so can't be too mad about that. But that is how the month of May stacks up, man. It's just kind of, back and forth, just 500 kind of month. That's the kind of month we've been having. So let us head now to the team management, and now we can get kind of into the nitty-gritty. There is a roster move we'll talk about when we get to pitching, but if you look over at our team rankings, our offense and base running has gotten into the top 10. So our numbers are finally reflecting that, and defense has moved to 23, but we still have the 30th staff in baseball, and I really just refuse to believe that. We have some bad pitching numbers, believe me, but I really don't think we are the worst staff in baseball. Not like last year anyway. I think we're a little bit better than we were last year, and even then, you know what I mean? Like we were so much worse last year. So taking a look at our core lineup here, so Endy Chavez. Endy Chavez kind of struggled towards the second half of the month. His numbers are still pretty decent on the season, but I think I might need to move him back in the lineup because as a leadoff guy, he was really starting to struggle towards the second half of the month. I couldn't really depend on him as much as I really needed to. He was getting thrown out also on stealing attempts a little bit more than usual, so still has 33 bags on the season, which is great. Record pace. he's on crazy pace. I wonder what the single season record, for the Nationals is, but since we are at the beginning of this franchise's history, this is probably essentially it. 33 stolen bases. That is the record right now. So either way, the OPS is still pretty high. It's in about the 740s, I think, close to 750. So he's been a pretty league average guy, but we need a little bit more from the leadoff spot, so we might need to move him a little bit. Matt Holliday continues to stay hot. He got suspended in the last game of the month. He got on base, and then, I don't know, maybe got chippy with the first baseman. I'm not entirely sure, but he got suspended in that game. I don't think it's long-term. I think he just got ejected from the game, but he is hitting over 300. He finally is hitting with a little bit of power. He had a couple home runs in this month, which were nice and timely, and the OPS is over 800, so Matt Holliday has been a great addition for this squad. I love what he is doing in the spot that he's doing it. Jose Vidro has also woken up, finally. He is hitting 329. OPS is amazing, but he's still not hitting for power, which is unfortunate. So, but at least he's hitting consistently, so I guess I can't be too angry about that. And then Wes King has really kind of come into his own. I didn't think he was doing this well, but yeah, he's posting over a 300 average or a 300 average. He was hitting well over 300 for most of the month, and I think towards the second half of the month he kind of slowed down a bit, but still hitting 300. Yeah, the OPS is great too, man. So Wes King has really stepped into that starting middle infield role. Really just shortstop. I really haven't kind of slotted in Christian Guzman since I brought up Wes King, man, because he's just been hitting really well and really consistent. We've been relying pretty heavily on Wes King. And then Jose Guillen finally woke up towards the back half of the month, man. This dude was hitting home runs left and right, and they were clutch. I was thinking about moving him up in the lineup, but where he was hitting in the middle of the lineup, he always at least had one or two guys, so he kind of became like a de facto cleanup guy, hitting like, fourth, fifth, or sixth in the lineup. So I kind of left him where he was because he was hitting very well. He is slugging the ball like freaking crazy, man. He's doing amazing. Jose Guillen has woken up for us. This is the kind of production from Jose Guillen that we had last year that we really need to rely on. It's he's one of our best hitters. And then Ivan Vukarina is continuing to struggle. He hit his weight this month, but hitting his weight is like not good. You get what I mean? Like he hit consistently, but consistent with himself. So his average was around there in the last month that we talked, and it's still sitting right around there. I think he hit one home run or two this month. The OPS is still a lot lower than it needs to be. He's not getting on base very well, which is a problem he had last month. I think he's slugging a little bit better, so there might need to be a move there. I said that last month. I want to give him as much time as possible. I don't think there's much for him to learn. And at AAA, I think now is a good time for him to be here. And so if he doesn't swing it, then I'm not too sure, but I don't want to have to send him down, but that might be the course of action. So maybe if he starts off June, like half of June, still hitting around there, then we might try something else. But I mean, 234 and an OPS that's over 600 is not the worst for a rookie, but considering where the rest of the team is, our expectation and how bad our pitching staff is, we need more. We need more from the first base position, and he's not really giving that to us, especially not hitting for power. That's really not great. Vinny Castilla isn't like hitting last year Vinny Castilla numbers, but he's hitting a lot better this month. His average is up, and he is slugging the ball a little bit well. He hit quite a few home runs this month as well, so I think, I don't want to say all 8 of those came this month, but I think most of them did. Yeah, I mean, he's hitting fairly well, 779 OPS, it's... he's Vinny Castilla. He's here, hitting in the back of the lineup has been good for him. And then Brian Schneider, man, he is absolutely turning the cover off the ball. He's been one of the more consistent hitters too. I think he had a walk-off single or double this month too, so that was pretty cool from Brian Schneider. So that is how the 9 spot goes. And then we're going to look at our bench here. Will Cordero, still just haven't really got him in. I need to figure out something with the bench because we got 6 dudes on our bench, and we really don't need 6 dudes on your bench. We definitely probably need more arms in the pen, if anything, so something here might have to be done. Also, I just don't want these guys to sit. I need these guys to hit pretty well. I'm guessing progression or regression from year to year is based off of their numbers during the year, so if these guys don't hit or get used hardly at all, then they're probably going to regress pretty heavily, and I don't want to see that from some of these guys. But yeah, Christian Guzman, his numbers are about the same. I pretty much was just using him strictly as a pinch hitter towards the second half of the month. He was literally just a pinch hitter because he's got pretty good contact against both sides. So that, I mean, yeah, that was pretty much it. And he's got speed on the base path, so he's been great as a pinch hitter. I mean, not even really great because his numbers are still just about the same as they were last month. He was hitting 225, I think, and he's got it up to 232. So yeah, I've been starting him on off days. That's about it. I'm not really sure what his role is right now in the team because Wes King is still hitting pretty well, and now Jose Vidro's hitting really well too. So we're getting the production that I needed from the middle infield that I was kind of concerned where it would come from in the last month. So I can't really justify starting Christian Guzman right now. So he's going to continue to ride the bench until Wes King or Jose Vidro falls off a cliff. That's pretty much it. Tremble Sledge, again, using primarily as a pinch hitter. Low sample size, but the numbers for that low sample size are still great. But, yeah, he's still not like an everyday guy for us, so that it is what it is. Gary Bennett has been really bad. He's been awful. Yeah, a backup catcher, again, I don't expect much out of the backup catcher, but he hit a lot better last year, so it's kind of disappointing to see how bad he is this year. But, yeah, backup catcher. Brendan Harris, again, haven't used much either. 4 hits, very small sample size. I think I started him maybe in an off day of Vinny Castilla, pinch hit maybe once or twice. That's about it. Not really using him. And same with Henry Mateo. Just used him a few times throughout the month. That's about it. Maybe he might have started 1 or 2 games, and yeah, that's it for the bench. So our lineup pretty much is consistent with itself. So the offense is starting to get really good, and yeah, I mean that's really the big changes. So here in the rotation, do you notice anything? Anything catch your eye off rip at all? Yeah, that's right. CC Sabathia is in the bullpen. I moved him to the bullpen. After that Brewers game, I was really pissed off. I was really pissed off because this team is really going to struggle and fight for every single win that it gets. And when I was just managing these games before recording, that's exactly what I was doing. Is I was fighting for every single win through management and pitching decisions. And CC Sabathia is one of the few guys on this team who are actively working against me every single time. So he is awful. I don't know what on earth has happened. We might be looking to offload that contract onto somebody at the deadline, because yeah, that's a disaster. And as a GM, I'm willing to completely sit here and say, hey, that was a disaster signing. Every other signing has been fairly decent. Matt Holliday's been good. Casey Fossum has been pretty good. Urbina as our closer has been really good. We will talk about him later because believe me, we have to. But outside of that, man, CC Sabathia has been a complete disaster. So I will wear that on the chest. There's a lot of GMs today who will not wear those mistakes on their sleeve, on their chest, but I will happily. It was a disaster. So either way, Seth Griesinger was one of our best relievers in the last month. I think he had a 2.14 ERA. He's kind of bounced back and forth. He's been pretty consistent with giving up 2 or 3 runs a start, which doesn't seem very good because I only have him going 3 to 5 innings, but considering what CC Sabathia was doing, this is fine. We can live with the 2.75 ERA as a starter. He's not walking a lot of people, so I'm okay with this. So, because Seth Griesinger's starts are pretty much almost going to be bullpen days. We're going to probably go between 3 or 4 pitchers on the day that he starts, and if he can only give up 2 or 3 runs through the first 4 or 5 innings, that's good. We can do that. I got to the point in the second half of the month where it was kind of like, there's some guys where I know what the limitations are, and we're just going to have to play with that. You know what I mean? Like Kim is probably going to give up a lot of contact early on, and after that, he's going to settle into his own, and we'll be able to play outside of that. And we're just going to have to live with that. He's going to have to go 6 and give up 4 or 5 runs. That's just what it is. We don't have the arms or the talent to really kind of offset that. Tony Armas Jr., again, another guy kind of all over the place. I had a couple starts at the beginning of the month where he was really bad, and then towards the second half of the month, he was kind of hit or miss. He had a start, I think, in the first or second Reds game that was really good, and so his ERA is now under 4. So it's kind of misleading from where he was throughout the month, but an ERA under 4 I will take because our rotation doesn't do that consistently. Casey Fossum had a bit of a rough May. His ERA kind of balloons over 4. He didn't have that many terrible starts. He just wasn't going that deep. He was good for the first 3 innings, and then by that 4th or 5th inning, he'd start to get shaky and give up about 3 or 4 runs. So it's rough. I still have faith in Casey Fossum that he'll figure it out in June. 4-7 still not that bad considering where we were. John Patterson is still struggling. He's still pretty bad. I got a couple good starts out of him, I think, 1 or 2, but he's been pretty consistently mid. As I was talking just a second ago, we know what the limitations are. We just have to kind of play around it. He's got bullpen stuff. He's only got 3 pitches, so we really don't have 5 starters right now on the team. He's kind of like Seth Griesinger, like Seth Griesinger's got the same kind of arsenal, and we're kind of relying on him in the same exact way, but because he's got the stamina. But either way. And then Sun Woo Kim, kind of consistent numbers with himself, man. He's still kind of giving up the long ball a little bit. He was getting hit a lot earlier than normal, and then really kind of settling in. I could get to a point where, by the second inning, he'd already given up 3 runs or 6 hits. But then by the 4th, 5th, or 6th inning, he'd be okay. He'd be scoreless, he'd be shut out, lights out. But so that 4 ERA is kind of consistent. It's going to hold. In the pen, Claudio Vargas has been awful. I've been unable to get any clutch anything out of him because his stamina's pretty high and he's a long reliever. I kind of have to go to him a little bit because our starters aren't that great, and he sucks. He's been pretty bad. Really consistently not that great. So he's walking a ton of people, and he just has not been good. CC Sabathia, his ERA was at 9.11, I think, at its highest. and it's gotten down to 822. So he has not been good at all. Even in the pen, he's been pretty bad. I've used him in a couple actual kind of long reliever, kind of like de facto starter with an opener type of role. You know what I mean? Like just the second guy to come in and throw 5 or 6 innings, and he's been okay, but he consistently gives up 3 or 4 runs every single start, so or every single appearance. So that's just kind of what to expect with him now. He has not been great really at all. And then TJ Tucker's also been terrible. I think his ERA was like close to 10 at one point. He's awful, but that's that's kind of what it is. I don't use him hardly because he's such a low leverage guy, and because how close our games are, we don't really have a lot of low leverage situations that I can throw TJ Tucker in. So he has not been good for us. John Rauch has been a pretty good de facto starter too. He might get bumped up in role. He might get moved into that long relief position, and Claudio Vargas might get moved down to the middle relief. I'll do that now. I'll just do that right now. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, John Rauch has been pretty solid walking a lot of people, but we always walk a lot of people for some reason. But yeah, so ERA under 3, one of the better pitchers on our staff. And then heading down here, I might have to call someone up, because we will talk about it. Luis Ayala has also been pretty good. He's been a good setup guy, a great setup guy for Urbina to close. I really like what we're getting out of him. Also, stamina allows us to at least give him 2 and a third innings. So he's been really great in these close games where it's tied in the 8th or the 9th, and I need someone to potentially go into extras with me. He's been great in that role. So yeah, I really like Luis Ayala on this team. And then Urbina. Yeah, maybe I can find. Here we go. Yep. And here he is. Yep, he's injured. He had a strained left forearm, so he is currently injured. It shouldn't be for too long, though, but he's been great, man. His May was amazing. I literally put him in and 3 up, 3 down every single time, bro. He just so consistently. He's been great in May. I don't know what was wrong in April, but he's been great in May. We really feel him not being on the team. He got injured towards the end of the month, within the last series or 2 of the month, so we haven't been without him for too long. That's why his stint on the DL is going to be is still pretty long. Because he just recently got injured. But yeah, he's been great. He's been amazing, and we really need him back on the team. I had the CPU auto put him on the list, and I figured they would call someone up, but I don't think they did. So we might just be running with 1 less arm than we need. So I'm gonna have to fix that before we get into June. So before we do that, I'll do it in reverse. We'll get into June first before I show off the standings. So we have the last game of this Red Series, which is the first day of June, and then we have a little American League homestand with the Orioles and the Yankees of the AL East coming to DC, and then we have a road trip to an American League East opponent playing the Blue Jays in Toronto. I might highlight this one here because we haven't played too many American League opponents so far in this series. And then we have another road series in Milwaukee after the series in Toronto before closing off our road trip in Chicago against the Cubs. Actually, we might probably do this because the Cubs have been a tough opponent so far in this series, and who doesn't want to see Wrigley? You guys love Wrigley, right? I think most people love Wrigley. We then go home with a 4-game set against the Pirates, and then we followed it up with another set against the Phillies before having a 2-game set against the Braves with off days on either side. So we're going to be eating good during the last week of June, and then we start a series with the Marlins on the last day of June, and which will be finished in July. So I think that's our first series against the Marlins. I think it's our first series against the Marlins, unless we played them in... No, that's our first series against the Marlins. Wow, interesting scheduling in this year. Not playing the Marlins until the end of June. Wow. So, but yeah, so that is how our June is going to go. And then before we get on out of here, let's look at the standings like we love to do. So, in the NL East, we are sitting in 4th place at 25-26 with a good 4 or 5 game lead over the Mets. So we are not firmly in last place. We have a good spot where we're at right now. We're a few games behind the Braves at 28-24, who are behind the Marlins and Phillies, who are kind of going back and forth for the top spot. But the Phillies are getting a little bit hot, so they were probably second before that 3-game win streak and have now taken over the Marlins. The thing I didn't really point out when we looked at the standings in the last video was the run differential. And we have a negative run differential, so that's not good. But runs scored were actually kind of high. We're second, we're third in the division in runs scored. So we actually have a pretty decent offense by our own divisional standards. So that's pretty neat. that's cool. I think that's a good thing. Looking in the AL West now, the Angels are holding on to a top spot, but they are tied with the A's and the Mariners. They are all kind of they're all in the mix. They are both 29 and 24, except for the Mariners who are 28 and 23, which is just as good. So, and the Rangers aren't too far off. They're about a handful of games out, but that is another tight race between those four teams who've been kind of mid up until this point. In the AL Central, the Twins continue to stay hot and hold on to the division lead. The Tigers have stumbled their way to 500 to start off the year. The Indians are also struggling here, and the Royals are struggling as well, and the White Sox continue to be bad. So, some things are inevitable. Death taxes, the White Sox being bad, even though this is around the World Series time, so that's weird. In the AL East, the Red Sox are firmly holding on to the top spot on a 10-game win streak. The Red Sox have won 10 straight games. Unbelievable. The Orioles were in first after April, so the Red Sox have had a monstrous May. But the Orioles are still not super far out. They're only 3 games behind, with the Yankees hovering around 500, and then the Blue Jays and Devil Rays still struggling to just stay above water, and they are not. In the NL West, the Padres are holding on to the top spot, who we beat, by the way. We did beat them in a series in this month. The Rockies are just behind them, just a half game out. The Giants have now thrown their hat into the ring as well, but they are really struggling on a 5-game losing streak, probably stemming back to when we played them, I would think, or maybe starting right after that. The Diamondbacks are also struggling, another team that we beat this month, and the Dodgers, man, are holding firm in last place. Interesting. And then finally, in the loaded NL Central, the Astros are holding on to first place. The Cardinals are just behind them by a game, and then the Cubs and Reds are kind of sitting in this high 20s area, just a couple games out, with the Pirates struggling and the Brewers also struggling. So that is how the standings in Major League Baseball play out. So that will do it for our May recap. Hope you guys enjoyed that video and that game against the Brewers, even though it was really frustrating. When we come back, of course, we will be going over June, and then I'll surprise you guys whether or not we have a game in Toronto against the Jays or in Chicago against the Cubs. I'm not sure which one would be better, so either way, we'll figure it out. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next episode for the 2006 season when we look over June.